Not happening. Okay, everyone. Thanks for joining. Please excuse my background. I'm using AI because I'm in or using a virtual background because I'm in a classroom at a school. I'm really excited to be part of this and to be hosting the podcast today. My name is Tim Howard. Today I have Les McFadden, who is with Vish, and Luke Huffstutter, who is a salon owner, and I'll let them both introduce themselves. But the purpose of today is we're really going to dive into Vish, how it works, where its origin came from, and then where we're going with Vish. So really great to be here. Luke, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself.
Well, thanks for asking me to join. And yes, I own some salons. I have three salons in Portland, Oregon. I own a Summit Salon Academy, a school in Portland, Oregon as well. And in September, I'll have owned the salons for 19 years. And I
Wow.
got into it because my family thought it was a good idea.
And it's obviously gone very well for you. But in addition to that, you help a lot of companies, don't you? I mean, you've done a lot of work with Summit. You've done a lot of
Yeah,
work with us, with
yeah.
Forrest.
Yeah, I spent 10 years as a consultant for the summit. I had a kid that kind of changed life a little bit, so I pulled back from that and have been focusing on the companies at home. And then I just love the industry. I love that, I there's so much technology available that our industry has been behind on, and so to be in conversations with you guys at Vish or with Forrest has been really fun for me because we're getting to bring that to the salons, and we need it. So anyway, thanks for including
Excellent.
me.
Well, thanks for always participating, Luke. You're always there whenever we need new products or discuss new products or showing up to podcasts. So I truly appreciate you. And with Les is one of the newest additions to the Vish team, and I'm going to be nice on this, and I do mean this. He's our best addition in a very long time. When we started Vish, we're a very small team, and we've been growing rapidly. But Les has a very interesting background, not in the beauty space, something quite opposite to the beauty space. So, Les, if you wouldn't mind giving your introduction.
Yeah, my name's Les McFadden. I'm the VP of Product for Vish. I'm excited to be here and thank you for having me on the podcast. Luke's an old familiar face that I deal with on a regular basis.
Well, Les, where were you before Vish, though? Let's talk about your
So,
tech background.
my tech background. So, before I came to Vish, I've been in many different tech industries. So, I was in the banking industry for about 13 years with a company in St. John's, Newfoundland called Verifin. And we were purchased probably about 5 years ago by NASDAQ. So we were one of the largest tech industry purchases in Canada, bought by NASDAQ, and then fulfilled my obligations there of my learning abilities and decided to move on. So I went to another local company in town doing 3D holograms, tables, and trying to work with the US military and the defense industry. So it was a complete change from the banking industry. And then about a year later, Timothy and Josh called me and said, "Hey, are you interested in coming over and help us with product in a brand new industry? We got a growing product, a growing customer base, and we need to fill a gap." And I said, "Hey, I'm on board. Know nothing about
Excellent.
beauty. I'm learning, but I didn't know one
Cle-
thing till I got into it."
Clearly, you know nothing about beauty. And just for everyone knowing, that is Les's real voice. He doesn't have a voice filter on there. So, and Les, what are your thoughts so far? I mean, going from two very different backgrounds into the beauty space, what are your impressions so far about this industry?
Yeah, I think from an industry perspective, from my standpoint, there's lots of opportunities for a product to help organize the way salons actively do business. So there's ways that we can make it very efficient and productive for owners, the stylists, front desk individuals, depending on what portions of the application they're using, but also keep the creativity. One thing that I've learned over the years is making sure that you're building a product to the needs of the end user. And I spend a lot of time talking to customers. And what's very important is keeping your creativity, keeping the ability to do everything you deal with a customer as yours and you own it. And we help you modify it and make it better for the future. And that's extremely important. I feel like every time I talk to a customer like Luke, I'm always thinking about the experience. What was the experience your customers had? Because I want you to enjoy the experience in Vish, so you pass that on to your customer.
That's great. That's excellent. But it must be very different. The beauty industry is operates very differently than any other business that you're in. Are you enjoying it? Are you enjoying the people you've met?
Enjoying it a lot. It's a lot of social, more interactive, more discussions like yourself and Luke. I think tech industry people always associated with being very complicated and hard. Tech industry only helps solve problems. If there's no problems that exist, technology is not going to help you get to the end point. So I feel like from my perspective on the product side, it's understanding what problems exist and how can technology help your clients succeed in the future. And that's where my mindset is always is. So whether you're in banking like I was, or defense, and now in beauty, in the salon industry, it's all solving problems for the betterment of your end user.
Great. Excellent. So everyone, my name is Tim Howard. I am formerly hairdresser, still a hairdresser, and former salon owner. I've worked behind the chair for many years. I came up with the idea for Vish, and we've had many iterations over the years. When we first started this project, it really came from my knowledge of the industry and working with our engineers to create the first version of Vish. And for some of you who used Vish way back in the day, you'll know that it's very different. Like anything, you learn about your product, you learn what your customers' needs are, and you iterate that product. By having people like Luke weigh in on what Vish needs to become, and since Les has joined our team, we're doing more and more of that to make Vish more end user, hairdresser, salon owner driven to provide better product and make their lives much easier. Most recently, and I think most excitingly, we launched the new Vish inventory module. And we'll get into the detail about what that is. It was something that was part of the concept originally, something that we wanted to do. We know that hair color inventory can be a nightmare. Ordering product, running out of product, just all the manual processes that we've been doing for decades that didn't need to be done manually. Vish has been finally able to solve that problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask you a series of questions, and to both you and Luke and Les. We launched back in January, I believe. Les, is that correct?
Yep, the end of January,
module?
or at least
End of January.
End of January.
And we partnered with Salon Centric and Salon Interactive for the first version of this product, so that we can actually populate right into your Salon Centric store to automate the process even further. The inventory module will work and does work for every manufacturer. And as time rolls on, we will do more with your distributor, with the manufacturer, to automate that process. But if you could just give us a brief description, Les, on how the inventory feature works for an integrated with Salon Interactive and Salon Centric.
Yeah. So for our aspect, everybody that uses Vish today, you go through all your color management using the scale, and we have all the usage data that you do for particular products. So what we do is we actually take all that information of the grammages you use down to the gram, and then are able to do predictive analysis. So we look back over the past year of all the activity of your stylists and clients and predict the inventory you will need for the upcoming weeks. So we automatically take care of all your mins and maxes. It's been a big thing in the world of inventory that you have a mins and max. It's a calculation that you want your minimum amount and your most amount that you want on your shelves. We take that out of the salon owner's hands. We actually do the pre-calculations based on usage so that you can have the best count and stock at your salon possible. So we actually do all the calculations for you so that you can just come to the screen within the Vish application, place the order, and it directly goes to Salon Interactive to come to your door in the next day. It's
Fantastic.
pretty slick. We started at a process of trying to figure out how we're going to do this. So we worked with Salon Interactive and Salon Centric, and then we needed to find some beta customers to help us learn. So you start with an MVP, so a very minimum viable product that Luke can look at and kind of play with and get his staff using, and then give us feedback on what they like and what they don't. So then what we do is we iterate on a weekly basis and then come up with the product that was eventually released in January. So Luke's team was very valuable to us because I can develop anything and it might make sense to me, but the end user might not see the vision or even use it. And that goes against what we need to accomplish when we release a product. A perfect example of this is when you build to what your customers need, people will use it. So we launched it in January and it's 3 months. 3 months have passed and we have over 1,200 customers using it on a weekly basis to place orders. It's a humongous adoption rate because it was a need in the industry that was required. And we had to tweak it so that it was easy, accessible, and salons were going to adopt it. And I can give it to Luke to kind of really go in from his perspective on how that was.
That'd be great. So, Luke, for you, I mean, I remember having this conversation with you probably 3 years ago about the inventory, and you were the first person I turned to get involved because you had a solid idea of what you needed, but you knew what the problem is, and you knew that it needed to be solved. So, how has the process been for you since we first introduced you to our team, and then to today, where it's active and running for you?
Well, I mean, this one's fun because they're, being in betas, you're dealing with iterations and, giving feedback and, so things don't work, perfectly through that experience. And, sometimes that can be hard. But when it comes to inventory, there was really nothing Vish could do that was worse than what we were already doing. So so it was that's always fun, that the tech was gonna help no matter what, and I think
Right.
so from this salon owner side, we can all, imagine this, make believe process that we've created and we're counting it. And mostly it's the person's gut about what we need and how much of that we need. And it's all, very make believe. And it's this huge, I mean, in our salons, I mean, we've got $10,000 to $15,000 easily of product sitting on our back bar. So there's a ton of investment in that space. So trying to, getting it systemized, using the data about what we're actually using, has been a wonderful gift to, keep moving us forward. And what I've experienced working with Vish over the last years is that, we get into it, we get working with something, and then 6 months later, we start looking at the data, and then we start learning a lot and making changes and about how we're doing things. And then it makes us better. We start iterating on how we're running our business. And that's been coming to life for us using Vish since the beginning. It has also increased our adoption rate, like our reweigh percentages have gone up because the staff want the right product. And so it was another way to connect to the stylist user that this, is going to help them have the products that they need every day.
That's great. And and that's a good point, Les. Luke, is that we need your teams to use Vish properly. We need your teams to be mixing every service in Vish properly. If we have that, we have real data. We know what's happening in your salon. We know what cost of goods are. We know the areas that we can make improvements. Part of us having the inventory module launched brings us to another product that we have, which is almost complete, which is service engagement. So what we're able to do now is have a score basically on your dashboard to tell you how your team are doing or how engaged they are with Vish. So because we integrate with 16 POS companies, we're able to see who's coming into the salon, what appointments, who's checked in, and we're able to track that client to make sure that everybody is mixing every service in Vish. I know what happens in busy salons is that color bar is busy and somebody's in a rush or running behind and they want to go grab a quick toner and not use it on our equipment. That becomes problematic because, again, the data is not there. We don't know what product to reorder. We want to make sure the clients are being charged accurately for the services so that the hairdressers are making the money that they deserve and the salon isn't losing profit. So what we've done recently, and I'm going to hand it back over to Les to kind of describe the service engagement feature that we've released. So Les, if you want to be brief on that one.
Yeah, so for us, for a service engagement, really what we're trying to do is make sure it's a reconciliation between your POS and what's actually happening in the real world in Vish. So we're trying to make sure that the services that are provided and booked, everything is mixed under the correct services so that we can accurately predict the transparent pricing for the customer so that there's nothing missed from an owner perspective. And then from a stylist perspective, it's actually opening up the transparency to the customer and making sure that they're reflecting proper charges, the proper experience that they're having in the salon, and they'll get the same results time in and time out. I think the engagement, what people don't realize at times is that when you don't do your reways or you don't mix under the right services, when you come in for your next appointment, Vish is trying to make it very efficient for you so you don't really have to think too much about the mixture and what you used last time because we're going to produce that formula for you from mixing from history. And that's where the engagement is extremely important. It keeps the usage, it helps us with the predictive analysis, and then links us back to the actual inventory module.
Excellent. And again, these are just some of the other features that we know in partnership with POS companies. We're integrated with them. We want to have the data back and forth. We want it to be as user friendly as possible and not add a bunch of steps to what people are doing. We want to take away steps. We want to make it just much more seamless. Hairdressers are very busy. Stylists are very busy. Clients come in late. They also run behind schedule. They don't have time and not necessarily need to have time to do all the back end work, like making sure everything is done and recorded properly. Everything should be there at their fingertips, ready to use, so they have more time with that guest to deliver a better service. So that's some of the features that we're working going forward. And then the newest feature that's about to be released is two-way syncing. And Les, we've done a bunch of salons in beta with that. Can you talk about the two-way syncing and who we're doing that with and some of the details there?
I think that's a critical point too about time because people don't realize it. Like Luke's team saves a lot of time now, not counting boxes for inventory. So anything that causes time lessens the experience of the customers in the salon. And what makes money for a salon is the experience the customer feels when they leave that salon. Not only did you get a great haircut, but the experience when I was there. And we're trying to always make sure that we are improving that for the customers. And two-way syncing seems pretty easy. It's syncing back with the POS system. So what we're doing is that if you have a customer come in for an appointment for a half highlight and then halfway through the process of the experience with the customer, you say it needs to be a full highlight, or you're doing extra product charges, or you're adding a ball, you can do that in Vish and track it. That information is then not just stored in Vish. It doesn't just go to the front desk and then you're hoping your front desk person has time and not busy with the booking appointments, checking someone out, brings it in under the proper service in the POS. What we are actively doing now is communicating with the POS system so that it's transparent pricing, products that are used are actually charged, margins that are needed there for the owners, the commissions that need to be charged to the stylist, and the customer in the end get the experience they know from the very beginning of appointment booking to checkout. So it's a seamless process that saves time from a stylist to the front desk to the customer. The win-win across the board.
Luke, you can speak directly to that because the beginning of Vish for you wasn't as smooth as it could have been. We kind of did a bit of a restart. And
yeah.
I worked with you on that, and part of me working on that with you, you already had a pretty solid way that you were charging for the extra product, right? I believe it was $1.25 a gram over and
Yep.
above the allotted amount.
Right.
And then I work directly with you to make sure that that is input properly in Vish so we can just automate that process. So if you can describe that, how your salon operates and the impact that automating that part of it has had on your business.
Yeah, I mean, we have always been really committed that the service providers are charging for what they're doing. And, we had a system to do that. And I would say we were in the top percentage of companies that were actually trying to charge for what they were doing, but there was no accountability. And I don't mean accountability in a bad way. I just mean like we didn't know for sure. We were just coaching it. And Vish helped us bring that to life instantaneously, right? Where all of a sudden it went from, hoping it was happening to knowing it was happening. And then for the staff that it wasn't happening with, we could go and get in a coaching conversation about that. And we just talked about two new features, the engagement score and the two-way sync, that continues to help me leverage Vish to better support my team, right? And not to get them in trouble, but to help them make a better living, and to own their business in a way that accelerates their growth in career, right? And that's for me. Vish is a way to accelerate people's income and livelihood, and transparency with their customer and transparency with me. And it has been a huge point for us. And everything you guys are doing to continue this engagement score has cleaned up the question about how, if they're using it right now, it's obvious to me, and I can go talk to that person. What's going on? Let's walk through some of these customers you didn't use it on. What happened? And Vish said you should have charged $1,300, but you only charged $600. Do you know the impact on you? Why? What's the impact on you financially? But what's happening in those? Well, I feel bad. I didn't quote them properly. Okay, well, let's talk about quoting. How do we help you quote better at the beginning of the service so you feel good and the guest feels like the conversations are empowered and amazing? And the two-way sync, we are betaing it in one of our environments, and our reway percentage went up 5% after the two-way sync, because it made the stylist life easier, because they could trust that the information was going to the front desk and they wanted it to be right. And so instead of going up to the front desk and making them tweak it, they've been tweaking it for themselves, making sure their formulas are correct, that their reways are correct, because they want the right price to go to the front desk. I mean, these are all ways that get people more. I'm obviously passionate about it. I'm super into it because it has helped us have better conversations with our team, help them grow themselves, help them create a better experience, because we have better visibility into what's happening behind the chair.
And this is
so well
extremely
said.
important, Luke. Like, that's extremely important. Like, for us, when we're building a product, it's all about the customer experience. And you guys are our customers. There's going to be challenges in the beginning, because it could be trying to figure out, how do we solve this problem correctly? And two-way syncing, the perfect example is, I thought we were going to allow front desk to push it to the POS. And every conversation we had actually pushed me to, no, the stylists want to own it from the app. So when they're doing their mixing, they will have it accurately. They just want to make sure it gets to the front desk. And that's the problem where it's solved. So even for me, being very unfamiliar with how the industry works, I was actually thinking the MVP was going another way. And you guys talked me out of it, which is the idea of me going in it with a very open mind and understanding how we can solve it. Change is scary for everybody. Why are we doing this? But if you understand why we're doing the change and bring it back to your employees, that this is going to be better for all of us, is the idea. We want to give you more time. Maybe it's the quoting area we need to spend more time than you worrying about making sure the price is accurate in the POS. We got that taken care of. You need to make sure that we're focused in the right areas. And hey, maybe we help you with a quoting tool in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to describe the process for everybody who doesn't know what Vish does. So as they weigh color on our software and our scale, for some salons, we have a parts and labor model. So 100% of the color charge goes to the front desk. That's happens in less salons. I'd say 85% of the salons that use Vish use a standard model, which is we allow X amount of product, 40 grams of color in a retouch application. Anything over and above gets pushed to the front desk. The guest pays for it. What we know is true is clients are coming in later this year and sorry, my headphone just dropped. Clients are coming in later this year than they did last year, about 11 days later. What are you laughing at, both of you? And
I was going to make a comment.
you're on
I was like,
camera,
oh my
like it's
God.
clear that you're laughing at me.
We did it at the exact same time, Luke.
You
Which is
did, yeah.
awesome.
I'm a bit paranoid that they're texting each other saying bad things about me. So what happens there is we then apply a markup on the product. We treat inventory like retail. You buy it, you invest in it, you should have a return on investment. Instead of this sunk cost that we've been looking at inventory and professional inventory since day one in the salon business. Because we can monetize that and we work with you to figure out what markup works best for your business, Luke has a different markup than another salon would based on the model that he currently had or that he wants to go to. So we customize all of that for the locations for every salon. We have a standard model, which is 100% markup on product. If somebody changes the service, if they added more time, the service could also change, and those changes will then make it to the front desk as well. Either model, all three models work. It's just a matter of which one works best for you. And then on that note about quoting, part of what we encourage people to do, we have a mobile app in Vish, which your hairdresser can have on their phone. It's the exact same version that's at the color bar. However, it doesn't connect to a scale in a multi-chair salon environment. We want to use that as a tool that they can prep the formulas, look at guest history, modify formulas, but also know what the charge is before they mix color. It gives the hairdresser, the stylist, the ability to quote accurately. Or in the mix, if they go back to mix more, they can get that number when there will be more color being used than they originally thought. So to Luke's point, it's about the transparency. And what is a great service in a salon? Obviously it's great hair, but it's also repeatability. It's being able to repeat that service when somebody comes in and says, I loved what you did last time, or, the price was right. And I'm guilty for this when I was behind the chair, I would overbook myself. I would do more work. The client comes in, they booked a partial. I'm going to do a root shadow. I'm going to do a pull through glaze. That takes extra time that I didn't allot for. I run behind. So the end of the service, I'm really focused on, getting that client happy out the door so I can bring on my next client who I'm probably late for. I would miss charging for toners and add-ons all the time. I recently met with a salon owner in North Carolina, and her story was amazing. She took on the business from her mother, who asked her to come in. She wasn't in the hair business. She was in business. And she moved into the salon to help her mom because she was struggling with paying bills and just keeping afloat. She just uncovered that they were $1.5 million in debt for the 3 locations. That was because her mom wasn't paying the bills. The payroll tax wasn't being paid, plus. So she took on Vish about a year ago, and I met with her a couple of months ago. In that year, she's cut her costs by 50%, and it is the first time in the history of that business that they're profitable. So that story really speaks to me because I know so many salon owners are just struggling to stay afloat, struggling to keep their head above water when we shouldn't. Generating more revenue is not the solution to that because you can just keep generating more revenue and having more high cost. You need to really focus on the cost aspect of the business. Where are you bleeding money? Where can those holes be plugged? And we're going to continue to make that experience as good as we can and to bring out a new product that is going to help salons be more profitable. What we have coming out next, Les, is the consultation feature. And I've been screaming this for years, and there's always been a bit of internal pushback at Vish about this feature, but I'm really happy that we actually have it moving now because we know, again, it's a time thing, right? Clients running late, the hairdresser is going to maybe breeze over the consultation And we know that good consultation produces good results. So if we can get that consultation improved upon, keep the records, and know that it's happening, we know that we're going to have better retention in salons and the clients are going to have better results. So we started this project, and I'll turn it over to Les so he can talk about more in detail of what the consultation app is going to do.
Yeah, so for us, it was trying to figure out how to be transparent to the customer from the very beginning. What is the price I'm going to get for when I come into the shop? Not get into the shop, salon, get your hair done, and realize it's another $200 bill coming at the very end of the service. One, you might have the greatest hair in the world at the end of that service, but the shock from the customer takes that experience from an ultimate high to an ultimate low very quickly. And like Tim said earlier, people are going less times a year. So you got to make sure you can make that repeatability and the service where it needs to be. So every salon, we do all the service mixing in it. So we know the costs that are associated across all individuals of what they're mixing and what their average grams are and what their max grams are per service. So the whole idea is as you're going through the consultation piece, adding what type of hair do you have? What's the length? All these basic questions, we are starting to use that information to do predictive analysis and say, this is how much product you will need and give an accurate price according to what you suggest in your formulas. So if you like a particular demi over a semi, you pick that. We will give you the average usage for that particular client based off the data. So you're not going into that customer based off their history, based off the institution or the salon history. You're going to get an accurate price no matter what. It's not going to go over it. And that is the goal. Here's what you're going to pay. We know it. When you go in, the averaging out, the way it should work is the salon is where it needs to be. Profitability, the stylists are getting the end results they need and the commissions that they need.
And I mean, that speaks to, and Luke, you can really speak to this, is that with the increase of online booking, clients are unrealistic about what their hair is like. They're unrealistic about the thickness and the length of their hair. So somebody that books a partial highlight, hasn't been into a salon for 6 months, is probably not going to get a partial highlight. They're probably going to get a lot more. So by us asking questions about texture, type, density, last time they got their hair color done, it's really going to help that hairdresser guide them to the right service, or the app will help them, but also we don't take out the human element. If they need to still speak to somebody or come in for a consultation, that is still there. Luke, can you describe, how our consultations work in your business? And is it some area that needs improvement for you?
Yeah, I mean, yes, it needs improvement, as in we always need to be better at this, and the consistency is more important than anything, and just our ability to stop and say, hey, this is a consultation. Like, let's take a moment. I think often guests don't realize we're in a consultation. We're asking them questions because it's so friendly and casual that they don't see what's coming, but it is so challenging for us to speak to how much something's going to cost online, whether they're looking at our website or booking services online or even calling the front desk, who can ask more questions. The guests are so confused about what they need and how much it's going to cost. And then they're feeling surprised by the price, as Les was talking about. And that is a huge sticking point that creates tension, fear on the service provider side, and frustration on the client side. And so anything we can do to make that process more transparent, which Vish already has. I mean, guests comment when our staff are using just digging out the last piece of color from the bowl for the end of that last hair. They comment like, oh, it's so nice to not have to pay for stuff that's being thrown away. They're watching. They know there is worried and concerned about pricing as the service providers are, and we have to find more ways to empower that conversation. And technology, I think, is the only way to increase the level of transparency and understanding to from the service provider to the guest. We are Consultations are mandatory and price reviews are mandatory in our company. That is like a value statement that we will talk to you about the price before we start a service. You should never be surprised at the front desk when you're checking out. But our service providers are providing ranges, like they're not confident about what the actual
Right.
price is going to be. And so this is such an important place to improve the customer experience and the service provider's experience.
Yeah, and I think this is where Luke and you worked with us a lot on this, on the notes that we collect on a customer that comes in to the salon. If they had a bad experience, it's captured in Vish. So if someone else in the salon, a stylist, has that customer coming up, they know they don't like any orange in their hair, they don't like X. It's very easily recognized, even if you have the formulas, to make sure what you avoid, because the experience is not going to be there for that customer. And I think little things mean a lot. And it's not trying to speed through because you're busy. You also have to remember there needs to be a quality perspective there. And that's what we try to do, to make sure you're always thinking about what you should and shouldn't do for the experience, because you're busy and it's just reminders. Hey, you should try this. Stay away from these tinges. This person doesn't like it. Last time they were in, they had a bad experience. Their dog was sick. Maybe you should ask them about their dog. Is it all right? Little things like that is the experience that the customer wants in the end and appreciates and remembers. And that's the little things that you don't even necessarily have to think anymore. We'll help you with that so that you're giving that to the customer in the end and you don't have to think about it or remember.
Yeah. I mean, you think about, some salons. I was in a salon just the other day and they allow 30-minute of application time. Then they're doing a guest in the middle and then they have time to do the haircut and the blow dry. Their time is tight. So what we've talked about is the things that they need to do. So from the consultation to mixing the color to applying the color to all the other things that have to happen in that, it's just taking away time from them. And we want to be able to free up that time so that they have the maximum amount of time with the guest and you don't miss anything. And it's, I don't think it's malicious. I don't think anybody does things maliciously or for the most part in undercharging or forgetting things. It's just one more thing that I have to do and try to stay on time. So leveraging technology to do this is always going to improve the life of the business. Change is difficult, as Les said. We help with that change and we will continue to help with it. We're trying to find ways to make the onboarding easier and easier every day for salons. Part of what we do at Vish is putting somebody on the ground in your salon. If you're a large salon, typically over 5 chairs, we want to make sure somebody from Vish is at your salon day of launch, work with your team, and then we'll continue to meet with you time and time again until you have everything, every goal met that you wanted to have with Vish. We'll be there every step of the way. The last thing, and again, so the last thing I want to talk about, because I know we're coming close to the time limit, is retail. Retail has always been a problem in salons. You get some service providers, very few, that are really good at it. I was really good at it, but I also became a business owner. I'm always focused on that aspect. And I heard a stat recently, I believe it was from Forrest, that they polled a bunch of salon customers. I think they polled over 2,000 salon customers, people getting their hair done. And the result was they asked, where would you prefer to buy your retail? And resounding over 90% of the customers they polled said they want to buy it from the salon, but it doesn't get recommended. So what do? They go home, they look at Amazon, they go online, and they purchase it and order it. We want to look at how retail is done, and we want to be able to assist that as well. So that's something that we're currently looking at. Am I correct, Les?
Yeah. So for us, when we got into this, even talking with Luke, inventory, and then we're live with our customers, they're like, this is saving us so much time. But what happens when you save time and you're getting feedback from your customers is that there's gaps always at times, and we need to figure out how to fill those gaps. They were like, you help me on my professional services side, but I have a retail section that I'm struggling in. So I'm continuing the whole process in there. And it's like, how do we bring that in? So our next step is actually working with Salon Interactive, Salon Centric, and bringing the retail products into the application. Working with the POS, you still continue your same process. You don't change anything into the salon area, but that information is all going to feed to us, and we are the central location that's taking care of all your inventory. It's the same math, it's the same information. We have the data. Let's figure out how we can improve it. But from a consultation piece, this is where we get to the broader picture, and I think this is where it's important. We can then help your stylist communicate to the actual end user eventually. We know them when they book online because they book through us and we have their email address. We can remind them to go to your salon and buy shampoo and conditioner when they're left for 2 and 3 weeks. They might be running out of it instead of going to Amazon. We are trying to get customers back to salons. It's the most important. You are our ecosystem. So the ecosystem is connecting it all together. We need to make sure everybody is coming back to the salon for the experience, and that includes retail. We make sure we're always keeping the loop going. Even though you don't think Vish is working for you, we're reminding the customer to come back in, get their retail because you're running out. It's been 2 months since you got the last order. You need to go back in and get it. It's revenue generating. We want that customer to always be coming back to you, and we want the salon to be there for the future. So it's helping you learn how to scale your profitability in the correct direction.
Yeah, well said. And that, I mean, that's it. Like, people are not buying less product; they're just buying less product from salons. So, Amazon has done a fantastic job at making it convenient, and that's all it is. It's just convenience. So, if we can make it as convenient to purchase from the salon, they are going to purchase because we are the ones recommending the right products, bringing them back into our business, whether we ship it or they come in and get it, or whether you ship it or Salon Interactive ships it. However, that's going to work. It's something we'll look at. Well, I thank you both for joining. It's been great. And Luke, I can't thank you enough for all the input that you and your team have given us in the past and will continue, because I'm going to keep bugging you all the time to keep giving your precious time to us. And Les, thank you so much. I'm so excited that these ideas come to life, and it comes to life because we have people like Les and the development team at Vish and people like Luke that really help us focus and deliver product. So if you're interested in finding more about Vish, please go to our website, getvish.com. That's getvish.com. And for those of you who have Vish, we've also launched an ambassador program. And there's many tiers to that. You can find information on our website about that. But we use people to go in the salon, so people educate that part-time with Vish. We have people who post on social, and we have a lot of things that are coming down the pipe that just want to include more salon owners and stylists into the Vish ecosystem. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Appreciate you taking your time into your busy schedules. Well, Les isn't that busy, but I know you and I are, Luke. I don't want to ask Les that. It's going to get a weird answer, but sure. Okay, so just to wrap this up in summary, and I want to ask you one final question. What does happiness mean to you, Luke?
Well, happiness to me as a salon owner is getting that call from your team saying they made the most money they've ever made and their future is bright. And those are the days that I work for sure.
That's amazing. That is amazing. What about you, Les? What does happiness mean for Les?
For me, since inventory has been out in the world, it's when people like Tim and Josh had a vision many moons ago and were struggling to try to make it become reality, that we released it. But the feedback that comes from our customers that were struggling, not knowing if their door were going to be open tomorrow, come back and say, now this has changed the way I do business. It's fulfilling that way. Our goal is to make sure salons are here tomorrow, so people are employing people and community is thriving in their area from it. So for me, in the end, keeping a store door open is the happiness that I need.
Wow, that's great, Les. Who knew? Who knew you were a nice guy? I didn't.
I am.
Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it, and we look forward to more of these.
Sounds good. Nice seeing you, Luke. See you later, Tim.